Hey everyone, so I did a video talking about the YouTuber Joey Graceffa'S new book called In Real Life. And now I'm doing a follow-up because now I've actually gone into the book, I've read much more of it, and honestly I have more to say. And I've actually, given Connor Franta's book a deeper chance as well, and really dived into it. And I really learned more than I expected from both, in terms of just life experience and life advice and new perspectives. Not really exactly life advice, but really seeing other people's perspectives. And for this book, it's just very interesting seeing how this person writes and talks and thinks, because just by the nature of it, you get specific perspectives. Some people, they're very focused on shopping, or their biggest problems in life involve, are they going to buy this clothing, or see this TV show, or catch the latest episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's very interesting seeing these different perspectives. Some can be annoying, but in this person's case, Joey Graceffa, if you don't know who he is, he has 5 million subscribers on YouTube. He makes a full-time living off of it. And his videos are, I would call them vlog/entertainment videos. And there's definitely one of those YouTube celebrity relationships going on. He's one of like 20 out there. And they literally can make a video about anything and get a lot of views. On the surface level, and I think this was what I partially thought when I initially started discovering these types of people, I was kind of like, how do they get so many views just talking about the most random stuff? Like, for instance, Tyler Oakley, he has 8 million subscribers right now, and he recently did a 5-minute video on Chipotle. And there's this story about how he just went to Chipotle and his friend found a little cockroach on his t-shirt. And that video did quite well. So on the surface level, I'm just like, how does one do such a thing? But then you look deeper, and there's actually like certain videos that really deliver in terms of either entertainment or content or relationship building or exposing something deep about them. So, you can't hate. They're delivering value on some level to an audience base, and their audience base is usually younger age, and that's what these people like. So I find that very fascinating, and I really explored it deeply because, I find the YouTube game quite interesting, and it's something I want to get better at. So that's one of the reasons I picked up this book. And, I really have some, different insights than what I talked about in my first video on this book. My first video, which was like a review/discussion, was basically like, oh, I hope I can find some interesting stuff about this book that will help me in terms of YouTube. And I don't know, it's just kind of him talking about his life. I'm not that interested. Now, I started reading more about this book, and I want to talk about this one chapter because it's just one of those illustrations of why you should read books. And what it is that basically for Joey Graceffa, he illustrated his life in a different perspective that really just opened myself up to, wow, I never thought about it that way, or experienced college that way. And that's something I think is very fascinating because, when you go about life, you can easily just fall into, this is my path, and you never really truly see people from other people's shoes. You may like think about it for a second, but this is one of those things. And for me, I've definitely experienced that perspective throughout different people's eyes numerous times, just talking to people, really seeing their story, figuring out how they live their lives and understanding it. whether it's just like talking to sorority girls in real life and asking them about how their life is, or whatever else, like watching YouTube videos and them telling them their story. So in this chapter, he really just talks about his experience in college and leading up to it and applying and getting rejected from his dream school, which apparently he really wanted to get into because a lot of the alumni went on to do a lot of great things in entertainment. So that school was Emerson College. And the point I'm trying to make is that his story illustrates how his life had problems as well. And he had a lot of people in his life that were not healthy for him. And he did things that a lot of people would have wished to do, or things I always wondered how it would be like. And he had experiences I had too. And he talks about them, whether it's bullying or being alone and eating alone in the cafeteria. He goes through all this. And when you see him on YouTube, you assume things, like we always do. You assume, oh, that's how he lives his life. It's one of the unfortunate things about being in the public eye. And what he does is basically, on YouTube, you see him and you see this guy who's very well groomed, very well dressed. He has his hair, all these accessories. You assume he's rich. He's always very happy in his videos. And it's very easy to get jealous or something like, or envious or whatever else. And that's not always the case. Everyone's human. Everyone has tough times, whether they show it or not. And so, let me just summarize real quickly a few of the things he says in this book. So he gets rejected from Emerson. He's crushed. He submits this whole movie production, which was kind of crappy at the time, but he tried his best. And he didn't get in. He was devastated. And he thought it was like the end of the world. At the time, his YouTube career was already taking off decently. He had another channel going on, which he made music video parodies for. It's called Winter Spring Production. It's still on YouTube. And the thing was, this is one of those examples of how in life you can't let other people's judgments or a current result in life or a rejection define you. And he let it define him, but now look at him. He's this enormous YouTube star doing very well. And at that moment, he felt devastated and worth nothing. But he moved on, and eventually you see him now. The next thing I want to talk about is his college life. So he didn't fit in, and I think this is something that maybe a lot of people resonate with, but they don't, admit it. And I think, it's more so the case than I thought. And I realize now more than ever that there's more and more people out there who are just as lost and confused, and they don't fit in. They go to college and they room with people and they don't fit in with them. And it's okay. That it occurs. There's still people, who do fine. They just go to college and they meet people who they click with, and everything's good and dandy. But that's not always the case. So for him and for me, that wasn't the case exactly. For him, he's this gay person. At the time, he was hiding the fact that he was gay, and he roomed with a very stereotypical stoner and a stereotypical football player, according to how he, sees them and how he writes about them in here. And he didn't really fit with them. And then, when he went to school, he went to a lot of parties, and he was invited to a lot of them. And he went to all these things where it was, basically, he describes it as something he, over time, very quickly, he didn't enjoy anymore. Which was, being in these musty rooms filled to the brim with drunk frat guys, and it just didn't interest him after a while, very quickly. And so he would spend more and more time in his dorm room, just working on YouTube videos, and his friends, which he had two friends, which he would go to lunch with every day and dinner with. His two friends started being very mean to him, very rude and mean, and telling him, why aren't you going with us to these parties? Why aren't you doing this stuff with us? Why are you spending time with these useless videos? And one of his friends got really, really mean and said all sorts of horrible stuff over time. And there's this one conversation that he quotes in this, where, you know, and it ends with her saying that she thinks he's useless, that he'll never amount to anything in life, that the music videos he parodies are stupid and the songs are shit, and he's sitting there on his lame computer and he's a lazy piece of shit, and he'll never do anything in life, and he'll never get into Emerson. So you can kind of see, like, not everyone has an ideal life as you think, and we all encounter horrible people. So he eventually cuts off contact with these bad friends, and, you know, it's just very interesting seeing his perspective, because for me, I was kind of on the flip end. You know, freshman year of college, I went to lunch and dinner alone a lot at the dining hall, and I could have done better at my skill at working at making friends, and that's something I could have worked on. This guy, you know, and you assume him to be so cool. Like, this guy's so handsome. If you see him on, like, his YouTube channels, he's just really good looking, very well groomed. You'd think he's, like, constantly popular, but that's not the case. I think that's really the case for a lot of people, because they don't know how to groom themselves and dress well and all sorts of stuff. They're not that attractive, but in reality, if they did, they'd be so attractive. So now I guess he has the time to do that, and he looks so amazing. But the point is that, you know, I wasn't really invited to a lot of these parties, and every Friday night I would just sit there and wonder how they were like. And I would just wonder and think I was missing out. So seeing this different perspective was, you know, different. And sure, there's people out there who, you know, they have a blast. Their life is a blast. They love the parties. They have friends and all this stuff. But it's interesting seeing this guy didn't even have that. And so, you know, there's even more to it. Like, his friends, his two friends. It's interesting seeing this perspective, because, you know, for a guy, you assume sometimes that girls, you know, a blanket statement saying, you assume blanket statement that girls, you know, they don't think in the same ways in terms of guys and so forth, and meeting guys in terms of parties and whatever. But these girls, based off what he wrote in this chapter, they went to parties to look for guys. They went to a party and they were like, they wouldn't even talk to him there. They beg and plead him to go to a party. He'd, you know, eventually, you know, go to the party despite, you know, having skipped quite a few. This was a guy who was constantly invited to them, but he didn't like them. He actually wanted to stay in his room and make YouTube videos, which is a completely different perspective, because I came from more so the not invited, you know, I wonder how it is, I'll do these videos anyways. A different perspective. His friends went to these parties, and then when they finally dragged him there, they wouldn't even talk to him there. They would constantly just chatter with other people, trying to meet guys, and then they'd be like, there's no cute guys here, let's go to another party. And they just party hop. And so obviously it's just an illustration of something I found, which is that people are different. You know, you get a huge variety of different perspectives for a typical girl on how they think about things. These were a type of girl where they were looking for guys. And that's just a, whoa, it's like, wow, you forget about that sometimes. You know, it's funny, I think it's part of the nature of how girls are. I think, you know, they don't want to admit, just because of how culture is, that they go to places to meet guys or whatever because they don't want to be looked at as a whore or slut or whatever else. It's just how culture is, I guess. So, long story short, the point of all that is just to share with you these new perspectives. And Connor Franta's book, he's another YouTuber. Um, his perspective on life is very fascinating as well. It's, I hate to say this, but a little bit simpleton compared to how I've seen other people view life. But there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. He is very into photography, and he obviously had a lot of anxiety and fears, just as Joey did, embracing YouTube as a full-time career and moving to LA. But his whole perspective on life, it's very focused on enjoying life, on photography and all that stuff. And I mean, for me, I've experienced a lot of different perspectives for myself and a lot of different people. And it's just very fascinating because you get these people, they're very just focused on photography and videography and so forth. And then you get these other people, they are focused to death on getting laid, on getting girls, and a lot of these people, they're focused on girls and how they look. It's a completely different world, and so forth. So, yes, seeing all those perspectives and really understanding them, and it's very interesting. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say. And that's just a little sneak peek about what you find in this book. It's very interesting nonetheless, just seeing his different perspective. And again, like, his life was not perfect. It's just one of those things, like, if you're wishing that your life was perfect or you're blaming other people for it, I think it's a waste of time. Because even this guy, he had a lot of, not a lot, but he had family problems. Like his mother drank a lot and threw up a lot and all sorts of stuff with that. His mom was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There's like two sides to her. She was bipolar. A lot of people who have gone on to succeed, they've had pretty crappy upbringings that were far from perfect. So sometimes it's like, that's not the issue. It's how you choose to deal with that and work with that to get to success. There's this thing that Tony Robbins says. He says that he gives this illustration of all these people who've supposedly had ideal lives, inherited wealth, good healthy parents, all this stuff, and then gone on to become drug addicts and so forth. Whereas these people who have been abused and so forth become billionaires and superstars like Oprah Winfrey, and inspire so many people. So I just find that very inspiring for myself. And this video is getting really long. It's all over 20 minutes long already. And that's all I really want to say in a nutshell. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to buy this book off Amazon.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. And peace. And again, if you go to the link on Amazon, you will be supporting me. I get like a very small percentage of that if you buy that book off Amazon. As always, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free. It'll let you know when my next video is coming out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.